Taylor Swift flashed a bright smile and wave, high above Arrowhead Stadium, her presence unmistakable as thousands of fans below cheered and snapped photos. She wasn't just another celebrity in the stands. She was a signal, an electric jolt that shot through the crowd, sparking even more excitement for the evening's Chiefs versus Texans showdown. Banners flapped, red and gold scars whipped in the freezing wind, and a buzz built up all around the stadium. Every fan bundled tight and eager for what was coming. Arrowhead didn't just house a football team. It held a city's hopes, dreams, rituals, and memories, and now Taylor's wave added just a little more magic to the mix. Down below, the Chiefs team buses rolled up with the kind of quiet precision that comes from hundreds of trips before. Out came Travis Kelce, his walk unhurried, but everyone who saw him knew he was already in game mode. The air crackled, not just from the cold, but from the sense that something big was about to happen. Kelce paused at the entrance, the bold Chiefs logo right before him, and pressed his hand to it. For him, that little motion was more than habit. It was a signal, a private switch that transformed him from just another guy in Kansas City to the team's heartbeat. Around him, the stadium staff hustled, cables snaking along concrete floors as camera crews set up, equipment managers rolled carts stacked with pads and helmets, and the first notes of pre-game playlists drifted through the air. Inside the locker room, the mood was different, a private world where time felt slippery and nerves ran high. Some players cracked jokes, others sat with headphones clamped tight, eyes closed, bodies rocking to silent beats. The smell of liniment and fresh jerseys mixed with the smell of anticipation itself. Kelce's locker was a study in order, his gear lined up with the precision of a surgeon's instruments. He slipped on a wristband, the one Taylor Swift had given him, tracing the fabric as if it carried a secret power. Not a word was said about it, but everyone knew those small things mattered. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes moments like this. Just then, Patrick Mahomes strode in, cradling a steaming cup of coffee like it was a sacred object. Every conversation stopped when he spoke, his words clipped and clear, all business but carrying a current of belief. He talked about the Texans' red zone defense, about tempo, about using every mismatch to their advantage. His teammates hung on every syllable, not just for the information, but for the confidence he radiated. If Mahomes said they were going to win, you believed it. Across the room, Chris Jones brought a different energy, his laughter bouncing off the lockers, his voice raised in a promise that Arrowhead would explode with noise for them. The rookies looked nervous. The veterans nodded, and a kind of unity took shape, invisible but powerful. Pre-game wasn't just about getting your body ready. It was about sharpening your mind, syncing your heart with the guy next to you, making sure everyone understood they were part of something bigger. Outside, the crowd's roar seeped in, faint but insistent, a reminder that a whole city was waiting. In the quieter moments, Kelce let his mind wander back to his early days, when he was just a kid hoping to make his mark. He remembered the long practices, the injuries, the nights he doubted himself, and the old highlight reels of Chiefs legends that played on these very walls. He wondered if he'd ever be good enough to join those ranks. Now, he was part of the story, his name called out by fans and echoed in the press. But legacy wasn't handed down. It was built slowly, moment by moment. As the playlist in the locker room changed, the energy shifted. Beats grew faster, hearts pounded harder, and hands shook just a little as gloves were adjusted, laces checked, visors polished until they shone. Coaches moved through the room, offering a word here, a pat on the back there. Each gesture small but important. Even for the veterans, this moment, right before heading out, always felt like standing on the edge of something huge. Nobody could ever predict exactly what would happen, and that uncertainty was part of the thrill. The call came, line up in the tunnel. Conversation stopped. The only sounds were the shuffling of cleats on concrete and the distant, building roar of the Arrowhead crowd. Kelce took his place, right behind Mahomes, feeling a jolt of electricity run through him. This was what every practice, every early morning, every moment of doubt had led to. The tunnel's doors swung open and the noise slammed into them like a wave, pure, deafening, alive. Arrowhead was more than steel and turf. It was a living thing, breathing in time with the fans who filled every seat. Flags blurred, red and white everywhere, and somewhere in the stands were the people who mattered most. Family, friends, the ones who had never stopped believing. The game wasn't just a contest. It was the next chapter in a story still being written. Reporters would have their stories. Analysts would pore over stats. But what happened in the locker room, in the tunnel, in the quiet before the storm, belonged to the team alone. Each player carried their own rituals. Some wore lucky socks. Some whispered prayers. Some just sat and stared at the floor. But all of them chained together by the weight of expectation and the thrill of possibility. The lights in the stadium brightened. Shadows danced along the field, and the stadium sound system boomed the names of the starting lineup. Each name met with fresh roar. Mahomes nodded to his receivers, gave a last, quiet word to Kelce, and then it was time. The anticipation was almost unbearable, the crowd's chants swelling louder, a rolling wave of noise that made the very air vibrate. Taylor Swift, still waving, caught on the big screen, sent the fans into a fresh frenzy. Her support another reminder that tonight was about more than just football. The Chiefs' sideline filled with players bouncing on their toes, coaches consulting last-minute notes, trainers checking equipment. There was a sense that every detail mattered, that nothing should be left to chance. Kelce gripped his helmet, eyes scanning the crowd, trying to find familiar faces, letting the noise and the cold settle deep inside him. The rest of the stadium was a blur of color and sound. Vendors hustled through the aisles, arms full of hot dogs and sodas. Security teams patrolled the gates, and groups of kids in oversized jerseys practiced touchdown dances in the concourse. The anticipation was everywhere, as thick as the clouds drifting overhead, and as sharp as a chill in the air. The Chiefs team captains gathered briefly, hands stacked, voices low and serious. Every tradition was honored, every superstition respected, because everyone knew that in football, the smallest thing could make the biggest difference. The stadium's massive video screen showed highlight reels from past seasons, big plays, hard hits, moments that lived on in the memories of every fan. You could see the pride in the faces of the long-time season ticket holders, the wide-eyed, awing kids seeing Arrowhead under the lights for the first time. This wasn't just a football game. It was a gathering of thousands who shared a single heartbeat. As the pre-game clock ticked down, everything moved faster. The locker room emptied. Players took their places on the sideline, and the coaching staff huddled for final instructions. The national anthem played, and for a moment, everyone, players, coaches, fans, even Taylor Swift, stood still, united by the music and the meaning behind it. Then the spell broke. The teams returned to their benches, and the Chiefs' offense readied itself at the edge of the field. Kelce flexed his hands, feeling the wristband tight on his arm, the memory of Taylor's support settling on him like a promise. He looked at Mahomes, who gave a quick nod and grinned. The stadium lights seemed even brighter now. The field a stage set for the night's main event. The Texans warmed up across the way, their focus sharp, their determination clear. They weren't going to make it easy, and everyone knew it. Coaches shouted signals. Players ran through last-minute drills, and the crowd's voice built a wall of sound that made the ground shake. If you're enjoying these glimpses behind the scenes, hit subscribe to stay in the loop. Up in the stands, fans traded predictions, shared snacks, and watched the clock. The cold didn't matter, not with adrenaline running high and the promise of a great game ahead. Arrowhead's energy was unmistakable, a feeling that wrapped itself around everyone inside, making even the biggest stars feel part of something huge. Taylor Swift, her smile never fading, chatted with the people around her, occasionally glancing down at the field, her excitement clear. The Chiefs' defensive squad, led by Chris Jones, gathered for one last huddle. His voice, booming and confident, cut through the noise, a rallying cry that left no doubt about their mission tonight. The rookies looked to the veterans for reassurance. The veterans looked at each other, and everyone looked at the field, ready for the battle to come.